So, welcome this morning. We'll start with our wonderful I Am Home, which has always represented our spiritual place of being at our Unity Spiritual Enrichment Center, but it's also with us wherever we are, each in our own homes. We're home together in the arms of the divine and in the arms of one another, even though it's virtually at this point. So, Simon, I am home.
I am at home, it's true. And so is
Yes.
all of you. And good morning. It's really wonderful to be with you online. I very much enjoy our Sunday services. I am home. I am home. I have traveled far along this road, and now I'm home. Shalom, shalom, in the love of God I am home. I am home, I am home. I have traveled far along this road, and now I'm home. Shalom, shalom, in the love of God I am home.
Good morning and welcome to Unity, spirituality with open hearts and open minds, and now with open walls. We're connected beyond time and space, and we always have been, but we have a new, I think, and deepening awareness of that. So I invite you now to unite in heart with this spiritual family. Just close your eyes and just feel us all uniting together in this amazing virtual sanctuary in spirit, bringing all of those who would we with us this morning in love and in presence. We settle in now, and as we do so, we give thanks for this virtual community, as well as the community of kindred souls, the community of love and heart that unites us always. Let us now open our eyes and together say who and what we are as a spiritual community, which is true wherever we are and whatever is going on in our shared world. Together, we are an authentic, transformative spiritual community centered in God. We co-create a world that works for all. And I truly believe that that's what we are doing in this time period right now. We're centering in God in our own ways, so truly we can create a world that works for all. And we know that begins within each of us. And so, as an opening inspiration, I'd like to share with you a passage that Simon actually has on his website that comes from Lao Tzu, one of my favorite spiritual masters, as translated by Brian Brown Walker. Listen to this and think about what this means for you right where you are in the sanctity, in the nest that is your home, and in the spiritual process you're in the midst of right now. Quietly go to work on your own self-awareness. If you want to awaken all of humanity, then awaken all of yourself. If you want to eliminate the suffering in the world, then eliminate all that is dark and negative in yourself. Truly, the greatest gift you have to give is that of your own self-transformation. And so we honor one another as we do this. And our mantra this month, as we move through our year of mystical Christianity, is honor one another. So let's say that 3 times, expanding that circle out with each time we say it, beginning close. And then by the 3rd time, we have included the whole world. Together, honor one another. Honor one another. Honor one another. And so we now give voice to this as we sing 2 songs led by our beloved Simon as we unite our voices near and far.
Yes. And Pam and I think we'll let's light our candles, because I missed that earlier. Come light, light of God, give light to creation, enlighten our hearts, and remain with your world. Come light, light of God, give light to creation, enlighten our hearts, and remain with your world. Please write in the chat function if you've lit a candle too, because we can't see, but we would love to know. I'm going to share 2 songs this morning from my friend Richard Bruxford Culligan. He was the other musician with me on that live stream for Earth Day. There was 350 people live, and just after it finished, my internet went down. And people saying that they have lit their candles. So this is by Richard, the 2 songs by his. In my heart is the road, and I will not be hurried. In my heart is the road, bless my feet on the journey to Jerusalem, to the place of peace. To Jerusalem, to the place of peace. In my heart is the road, and I will not be hurried. In my heart is the road, bless my feet on the journey to Jerusalem, to Jerusalem, to the place of peace, to the place of peace. And then the other one is the one that was written about St. Kevin. And you probably know this story if you've come to church often, but some of you won't know it. So he was a Celtic saint about 1,500 years ago. And he lived in a little stone cell. And one time when he was praying, he put his hands out in hallelujah. And the place was so small that his hand went out the open window. And as he was praying, a blackbird came and started to build a nest in his hand. And he held it there, and then, of course, she laid eggs, and then there was chicks. So he would have been standing like that for maybe 2 months. And it's the story about him called Open Hand. Open hand, ready for blessing beyond our choosing. Open hand, prepare for goodness out of the blue. Open hand, ready for blessing beyond our choosing. Open hand, prepare for goodness out of the blue. Should a free blackbird choose to nest here, laying her gifts in my life? Or a breeze-born seed come to rest here, growing its gifts in my life? Open hand, open hand, ready for blessing beyond our choosing. Open hand, prepare for goodness out of the blue. I love that song. Let me...
So we welcome you all to this service. We'll do the service, and at the end, we'll transition from the service into our coffee and chat time. So if you'd like to stay after the service with us, you could go get a cup of coffee and then come back, and we'll have discussion and answer questions. And then the other piece to remember is during this time apart, I've invited everyone to do some creative processing, and I'll be talking about creativity and balance today. And part of that is to create a collage, and that's an image of kind of what you're stepping back into as we re-enter the world. And so it can be pictures, images, photographs, words, whatever you're called to do. You can weave ribbons through it. It's your creative project. And then we'll do a larger collective one for unity. So we're inviting each person to bring an image or something that's no bigger than an index card. And Beverly had some great instructions of how to take something if it's a little bigger and shrink it down. So we'll have all of that on the website for the big collective one that we're going to do together. So have fun during this time, letting your child, your creative self, have a little bit of free reign as we revision and co-create what will emerge from this time of transformation together. So, David, you want to let us know what's going on?
Sure, be happy to. Well, let's see. We've got every day at noon, there is a high watch meditation and prayer service that's conducted on Zoom. The connections to that are on the website. So if you go to unitypt.org, you can get the link and link right into a Zoom afternoon prayer and meditation time. And it's a time to hold ourselves, our loved ones, and the world as we move through this time of disconnection physically, but connection on all sorts of other realms. So anyway, it's a very powerful 40 minutes of your day. This is a time to recenter, refocus, and receive the blessings and then give the blessings. It is truly a wonderful time, and I certainly would invite anybody and all of you to show up on at noon. And then on Thursday at 10:30 in the morning, Wisdom Jesus class continues. I think they're on page 8, so you're not behind if you haven't started. But that's on the book called Wisdom Jesus, and it's about the teachings of Jesus from a very deep perspective. So that class is at 10:30 on Thursday. And again, the link is at the website, or if you're on our email list, you'll get a notification from the corporate offices on Center Street, I guess is where we're at, the corner of Center and San Juan. Anyway, Beverly takes care of that. And if you're not on our mailing list and want to be, just send an email to info@unitypt.org, and we'll put you on the mailing list, and then you can get all these hot links and you don't have to mess with anything. So that's what we got going on for this week. And as I prepare for the daily word, I want to remind everybody that we still are receiving prayer requests. The prayer button may or may not be operating, but if you have a prayer request, just go to info@unitypt.org, and that'll get it to the right spot. And your prayer request will be held by the church for a week, and then we send them on to Silent Unity for 30 days additional prayer. And now is a really good time for holding the whole world and everybody in it in prayer. So today's daily word is on release, and I was thinking about that in terms of manifestation, that we're co-creators with the divine, and in that we have some responsibilities on our end to make sure that we are prepared for that. And something came across, I was reading, and I thought I'd share it with you, is that Spirit knows nothing of our neediness. What we need, what we think we need, Spirit's not worried about that. But Spirit does know when we're ready, when we're willing, and where our consciousness is. So if we want to manifest something consciously, we need to first be ready for it, which is really honing it down to what is it that we say that we want, and what do we really want. And part of that is just keep drilling it down. Is it that I need a new car, or is it I need reliable transportation? Because it may not be a car, it may be a new bicycle, who knows? But so it's really what is it, the essence of what it is you're asking for. And then the willingness. What am I committed to do? Am I really committed? Do I have to do the stuff that I need to do to make this happen? Be open, be taking the steps necessary. And then thirdly, and most importantly, is our consciousness. Eric Butterworth wrote, I hope he wrote The Golden Key. Is it Butterworth, Pam, that wrote the book Golden Key? Or
Emmett Fox.
Oh, Emmett Fox. All right. Anyway, the Golden Key says, regardless of what's going on, put God first. And keep going back to God, back to God, back to God, back to God, and everything else will come forward. Jesus taught that. Put God first, and all the rest will follow. So that's what it's about in terms of our manifestation, is to keep going back to the source and knowing and affirming that it's on its way. Blessings are on its way. Whatever it is that I need, or that is coming forward, that I've really done my readiness, I've done my willingness, and now I need to just affirm and just allow. And that's the hardest part, because that's the part where we got to really kind of tend our garden of our mind and get rid of all the weeds that keep popping up that say, well, I'm not good enough, it's not time enough, and blah, 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 all the things that keep us from getting what we say that we want. So with all of that, it's all about stepping into the divine and really know that the divine is providing all that we need for highest and best, always. So if we do that, and all the rest will follow. Part of that is releasing those negative thoughts, and that gets us to the daily word. So the daily word for today, on the 26th, is release. I release all that does not contribute to my highest good. John's gospel tells of Jesus restoring life to his friend Lazarus, who had been dead for 4 days. As Jesus cries out, "Lazarus, come out," and his friend emerges from the tomb, burial cloth still covering his face and wrapping around his hands and feet. Jesus says to those who have gathered, "Unbind him, let him go." Even after a spiritual resurrection, I may be bound, like Lazarus, by thoughts, ideas, feelings, and habits that keep me from the full expression of freedom. Through my divine power of elimination, I release negative thoughts, negative feelings, dissolve error thoughts, and free myself from habits and actions that do not serve my highest good. I am no longer bound, I am free. And from John, the dead man came out, his hands and feet bound with strips of cloth, and his face wrapped in a cloth. And Jesus said to them, "Unbind him, let him go. I release all that does not contribute to my highest good." And so it is. Amen.
So we now enter into our time of prayer and meditation, where we journey within and we release that which it's time to release and embrace that which it is time to embrace. We settle into this sacred space together, collectively as well as individually where we are. It's that perfect paradox. We are each individual sparks of the divine, but we are also part of the great original spark of light. We are diverse, and yet we are also one. Every moment, every second, wherever the journey of life takes us. So let us settle in to the place of the sacred connection that abides at the core of our being, always at the center, this place of communion with the divine by whatever name you may call it. We center in now as we unite in singing Sanctuary.
Love, prepare me to be a sanctuary, open-hearted, tried and true. With thanksgiving, I am a living sanctuary for you. Love, prepare me to be a sanctuary, open-hearted, tried and true. With thanksgiving, I am a living sanctuary for you.
To the inner sanctuary that links us ever with our outer lives and our inner lives woven together as one. A sanctuary is a place of peace and safety. It is a place where you can abide at level of body, mind, soul, and spirit, where your heart becomes the vessel to express the divine, where all of your beingness then carries that vibration and the embodiment and the spirit are truly one, open to realize in this moment the truth of our unity principle that you are an eternal spiritual being having an earthly experience for a divine reason. Open up in this moment to more deeply understand what that truth, what that passage means to you right here and right now in the unfolding of your life and your soul. Now expand this out to include more a sense of the collective. We are all eternal spiritual beings having this particular earthly experience for a truly divine reason. One of the great gifts from all of the spiritual masters and teachers and saints and everyday souls is discovering the presence of the divine in the midst of all of the unfoldings in this world. To not see the outer as separate from the spirit, to see them woven together of one energy, and thus being able to find deeper meaning, truer connections and communions, but also finding an inner sense of balance in the midst of an ever-changing world. The Buddhists call it the middle way. The natives speak of walking the path of Great Spirit. For Jesus, it was recognizing the kingdom of earth and heaven are truly one. Each spiritual tradition encourages you to notice the divine within you and all around you, and to find a sense of inner balance that will guide you along this path of life and allow you that peace that passes all understanding to be with you every step of the way. This month's prayer is a wonderful one from John O'Donohue, and it's called for equilibrium. It's from the Celtic tradition, and it represents finding balance and the presence of the divine in the midst of all of the created world. This is a beautiful blessing that I invite you to allow each line to settle into you at depth, to nourish and comfort, to restore and rededicate you in the midst of what is going on in our shared world and our individual soul journeys this day. Open to receive the gift of this blessing for equilibrium. Like the joy of the sea coming home to shore, may the relief of laughter rinse through your soul. As the wind loves to call things to dance, may your gravity be lightened by grace. Like the dignity of moonlight restoring the earth, may your thoughts incline with reverence and respect. As water takes whatever shape it is in, so may you be about who you become. As silence smiles on the other side of what's said, may your sense of irony bring perspective. As time remains free of all that it frames, may your mind stay clear of all it names. May your prayer of listening deepen enough to hear in the depths the laughter of God. And so we now come to the shore of our blessed time of conscious prayer, even though we know we truly pray without ceasing. Every breath is a prayer. Every action, every spoken word, everything we do is the energy when we recognize the divinity in every breath, every moment. Everything truly is prayer, and we pray without ceasing. And so in this stream and flow of prayer and communion, let us now pour all of the prayers that are ours this day. We listen deeply, and we become the divine channels of grace through our consciousness and our prayers. And we uplift them individually and collectively as one, right where we are now. We unite with all of these prayers, all of the prayers entrusted to the High Watch prayer chaplains of unity, spoken, written, left in the prayer box, emailed, sent soul to soul. We unite and uplift them all now. With the open hands that welcome the blessing of the bird, let us now, with open hands, release our prayers and allow the universe, the divine presence, to fill our hands and the hands of all of those for whom we pray this day with answered prayers. And in these open hands, we hold all of the prayers of the world, all of its kingdoms, all of its creatures, all of humanity. And we send forth a great wave of loving compassion and presence in, through, and as us individually and collectively as we bathe this globe with loving presence. And our prayers are there, like the joy of the sea coming home to the shore. Our prayers will be there for one and for all. We open in gratitude to be co-creators with the divine, to be one with one another in community here. And may for each of us in this coming week, our prayers of listening deepen enough that we truly hear in the depths of life the laughter and the joy of the divine. We give thanks as we once again sing Sanctuary, linking inner and outer truly as the one that they are. Sanctuary.
Love, prepare me to be a sanctuary, open-hearted, tried and true. With thanksgiving, I am a living sanctuary for you. Love, prepare me to be a sanctuary, open-hearted, tried and true. With thanksgiving, I am a living sanctuary for you. So Pam tells me her topic, and I have a few days to think about perfect songs, and both Pam and I independently decided that Unseen Song by Samara Jade was the perfect song, and because the internet is amazing, there she is.
Well, very appropriately, I am streaming from a place called The Sanctuary, literally.
Oh,
Perfect.
love it.
I'm in Arcata, California, and yeah, it's this artist community that I've been living at the past 2 months. This is where I happened to be when all this started going down, and so in the game of musical chairs, this is where I stayed, and it's been a really lovely time. I've been recording a new album and walking in the redwoods, and I'm about to leave in a couple days, and so I've been thinking a lot about just keeping the inner sanctuary going, because I don't really know where I'm going, and so your prayers and songs and everything is just so synchronistic, and it's such a lovely, surprise of synchronicities.
It is. Well, thank you for saying yes and for joining in. And I'm going to make you big and turn us off so that we can hear your song as well as the internet will give it to us.
Awesome. Well, thanks y'all so much. Try to get so you can see me and my guitar and hopefully hear it all. Someone said, Beverly says, come back to Port Townsend. I might. We'll see. But yeah, I'm glad you asked me to sing this song, because this is a good reminder of as I meditate on sanctuary and inner sanctuary, I remember that I find so much inner sanctuary in the constancies of the world. And, like we're talking about, all that's changing and shifting right now. There's like the few things that we can hold on to are like the beauty in nature and the constancies of the stars coming out and the birds singing. And so, yeah, here we go. I listen to the silence. There was no longer silence. Till it was filled up with the bird song that had been there all along. Till it was filled up with the bird song that had been there all along. I looked into the sunset till there was no longer sunset, till the sky grew darker and it filled on up with stars, till the sky grew darker and it filled on up with stars that were there all along. So they were there all along. It was there all along. The underlying unseen song. I stopped to smell the flowers. They were no longer flowers. They began to wilt and droop and develop into fruit that turned to seeds and back to flowers that had been there all along. I searched the world for answers. They turned into questions that shone light upon the answers that had been there all along. They shone light upon the answers that had been there all along. Yes, they were there all along. It was there all along. It was there all along. The underlying unseen song. And the light obscures the darkness hides the light, and the stars are still a-shining when the sun is shining bright. Oh, how unimaginable, how many layers go unseen in this dream. In this dream, so much more than it seems. In this dream, in this dream, so much more than it seems. And I felt into my sadness till it was no longer sadness. It was filled up with fullness that had been there all along. Till it was filled up with fullness that had been there all along. And I cut through my aloneness till I melted into oneness of the web of shining dewdrops that connects us all as one into the web of shining dewdrops that has been there all along. Yes, it was there all along. It was there all along. Yeah, it was there all along. The underlying unseen song. The underlying unseen song. The underlying unseen song. And I spoke my words till they were no longer words, till they sounded no different than the song sung by the birds still sing you when they can't be heard. All of the symphonies get blurred into the colors of the world is turning, powered by the bird song that had been there all along. Yes, the great wave of bird song that had been there all along. Haven't you heard that wave of bird song that has been here all along?
Beautiful, Samara. Before you jump off, let me turn some mics back on because I know that Pam is going to want to say thank you, and probably so is David. Hey, thank you for joining us.
Of course.
Thank you so much. I love that song. For all of you who'd like to hear it again, you can find it with a wonderful video on YouTube. I play this all the time, and I have a short list of songs that are ones that someday when I go back to Spirit, I want to be sure are included in my celebration of life. Simon's Deep Peace and the Archangel song are two. Samara Jade's song, Unseen Thing. This is the other one. This is one. So all of you remember, I want her song to be part of that. It just, for me, captures so beautifully what life is all about and what we're all about. And so, and I love that you're in a sanctuary right now.
Thank you so much, Pam. That is such an honor to hear that. I get teary-eyed.
Me too.
Can you afterwards put a link into the chat so that people can find you? Tom Drake said in the chat that he was actually listening to that song of yours earlier on today morning.
Perfect. Well, I will. I'll post the link to the music video. Also, I made a YouTube playlist of a bunch of songs of mine that just seem like they're medicine for these times. So I'll post a link to that one too. So
thank you.
Yeah. Thank
Yeah,
you.
please track Samara down because she does amazing healing music and about so
Yes.
many things.
Yes.
Yeah,
Aw.
thank you so much. We love you.
Thank you all so much.
Yes, we
Medicine
love
Journey
you.
Be
and
well.
staying
Be safe.
connected.
Safe journey and come home to PT.
I will. I'm gonna find a spot.
Oh, wasn't that wonderful? It's kind of hard to shift from that, except that I kept coming up with something that I felt like I needed to start my message with this Sunday, and now I know exactly why. Because this is another version in its own way of that unseen song that unites everything in life, and it's another piece by John O'Donohue. And I was going to do it at the end, but keep getting very, very clearly. Let's start with this. So this is called Benak, which is blessing, by John O'Donohue. On the day when the weight deadens on your shoulders and you stumble, may the clay dance to balance you. And when your eyes freeze behind the gray window and the ghost of loss gets into you, may a flock of colors, indigo, red, green, and azure blue, come to awaken in you a meadow of delight. When the canvas frays and the currach of thought and the stain of ocean blackens beneath you, may there come across the waters a path of yellow moonlight to bring you safely home. May the nourishment of earth be yours. May the clarity of light be yours. May the fluency of ocean be yours. And may the protection of the ancestors be yours. And so may a slow wind work these words of love around you, an invisible cloak to mind your life. An invisible cloak to mind your life. The unseen song. With us always and forever. This month, our theme is around wisdom and understanding. Wisdom being free from ignorance and understanding free from intolerance. When we can see with a higher vision ourselves, others, our world, the world changes. And in that instant, no matter what we're going through, the clay can dance beneath our feet. The colors can awaken in a meadow within us. A path of light can come right to the point where we take our next step. And an invisible cloak surrounds us, always and forever. What a blessed awareness this is when we really get that. Because life is not so much about what happens, it's about how we perceive it. It's about the meaning we give to it. It's about finding the divine presence in all of it. This coming week on Friday is Beltane, which is also May Day. Simon is going to be doing a concert, yes, for Beltane on Friday at 6 at 6. So be sure and come and be a part of that, because Beltane is a shifting into a celebration of light and of the evolving, emerging spring that has sprung and that is getting bigger. Bel, the fire of Bel, which is the shining one, the bright ones, are honored on Beltane. It's an enjoyment and celebration of our embodiment of the 5 senses, of the fruitfulness of life, of lighting fires to purify and to protect and to bless all of life. It is connecting with that invisible cloak that minds your life. one of the great May Day traditions was always to do a maypole. And we've actually got one back in our storage area. We've done it before, so we'll do a virtual one on Friday. And the tradition is you have all of these different colored ribbons that hang off this tall pole. And then people take the ribbons and they dance counterclockwise to each other and twist the ribbons around the pole. And it symbolizes the beauty and diversity of life and how it is all woven together in an interconnectedness. And so this Friday is going to be a celebration of this unseen song that underlies everything, of this cloak that wraps us, that at this time of year we can step out and really honor and celebrate and see in the world all around us in a wonderful and amazing way. This time of year is also a time of creativity. It's a time of new birth and new awakenings. And we've talked about how crowning, and corona means crown, the crowning of the baby in birth is where the baby's not born yet, but you're in the process of beginning to give birth to what has been envisioned and created in the unseen, but is getting ready to make its way into the world that is seen. And I believe with all my heart that we're doing a consciousness shift individually and collectively to give. Then I'll go ahead and try and pick up where I was. I get in this flow, so I'll just have to dive back into the flow again. So I'm not quite sure when it clicked off, but I was talking about how this is this time of new birth, and that spring is about new life and new birth and things coming forth all around us in nature. So it's a normal time for that in kind of the unfolding of our souls as we move with the outer manifestations of the forms of life. And so it's the perfect time to connect with Isad, which is the gate on the Kabbalah just above Malkuth, which is our communion with one another. It's where we create heaven on earth in, through, and as us. And the one right above that is creativity. It's us consciously creating that kingdom of heaven on earth in which we join and do together. It is also under the system of the chakras. It's the creative, the generative chakra that is the one that holds sensuality and sexuality. It is embodiment. It is seeing embodiment as divine. It is about partnership. And it's also about giving birth and being creative. When I was in ministerial school, Barbara Marx Hubbard came and spoke at Unity. And I'll never forget, she talked about how this was a time period where there were a number of women who were called to, rather than be creators of physical birth, we were called to be co-creators at a spiritual level. And it was this huge aha for me when I realized that the reason I'd not been able to physically give birth to children like I always thought I probably would was because in this life my soul had chosen to be a co-creator and not a procreator. And that you can do both. It's not an either or. I am a total and person. But for my soul journey, my commitment was to being a mother to many. And so I did that through my work as a special ed teacher, as a nurse, as a chaplain, and hopefully now as a minister. And so Divine Mother can take many, many forms, and giving birth is something that men and women do. We all take potential and we nourish it within ourselves until the time is right for it to be given expression out into the world. And it happens in and through and as all of us, as it does in nature. And there are different ways to view the world. And I have just recently come across a wonderful book, The Universal Christ by Richard Rohr. He has a wonderful website with daily inspirations that you can sign up to receive. And he is quite amazing. And he talks about something that I find really interesting, particularly in light of the unseen song and the invisible cloak that binds our lives. And he says there are 4 different ways to view the world. And I invite you as we go through these to see how you've held each one at different points and to see which one is the spiritual lens through which you tend to view life, particularly with everything that's going on right now. The first worldview is material. That's where the outer realm, the manifest visible world, is the real one. That's the one you focus on. It leads to very strong materialism because that's what is of value. That's what you notice. That's the currency, so to speak. So a material view is someone who would say they're an absolute realist and it just, things are what they are. The second viewpoint is the spiritual viewpoint. And this was the one that when I first was reading, I thought, oh, a spiritual point of view, yes. And I realized as he goes on that when we're talking about the unseen song, we're talking about not this second, but the 4th level that I'll get to in a minute. The spiritual awareness is where you give primacy to the spiritual, where it's about consciousness, and the invisible realm is more important than the manifest realm. It's one in which it's important to be disembodied because you are focusing on the spiritual aspects of things. This is where a lot of organized religion went, where they said spirit good, body bad. And that was something that a lot of us grew up with, is that the physicality was something negative. But when you go to the Eastern or you go to the mystical traditions, it is embraced as part of our divinity. It's not separate from. And so people that would go away and separate from the world to be connected with spirit, this is that kind of viewpoint where that is absolutely of primary importance to you. The third he calls the priestly view. And this is where you put spirit and matter together. And you do rituals, you honor both, and you focus on bringing them together into a communion, so to speak. And religio actually means, religion comes from religio, which is to religament or to weave back together. And so religion and the priestly role is to reunite things through ritual, through sacred word, through teachings, through living examples. And the thing that's tricky for this one is that you can have people who are real mediators between the manifest and spirit, but you can also have charlatans that lead people down all kinds of paths because they become more focused on the priest, the person of authority, rather than the underlying spirit. And then the fourth is the one that he says is what we are living and are becoming more and more aware of, embracing, which is called the incarnational view. And I love that. The incarnational view. It's a word for something that I've shared with you all for a long, long time in many, many different ways, is the importance of honoring our sacred humanity as well as our sacred divinity, recognizing the sacredness of both. And incarnational worldview allows you to do that because matter and spirit have never been seen as separate. And that's how I saw the world as a child. They weren't separate. They were inextricably woven together. And it's not about putting them back together. It's about awakening to that oneness, to that unseen web that unites us all, the unseen cloak that wraps us all up. It's about rejoining rather than separating from. He said, this is the path of many mystics, including St. Francis. And I love this. He said, this view relies more on awakening than on joining, more on seeing than obeying, more on growth in consciousness and love than on clergy, experts, morality, scriptures, or rituals. The code word I am using in this entire book for this worldview is simply the Christ. Christ consciousness, universal spiritual awareness. It's an incarnational view that says celebrate your humanity and your divinity both, and find a balance for those. Because when you find that balance is when you get into that place of the peace that passes all understanding. Remember when you were a kid and you would play on the teeter-totter? A lot of outer life is a teeter-totter. You're up, you're down, and things will shift. And this is about finding that point of balance between the two where they can tip, but you abide in that center place of peace, where when things go up or go down, it doesn't totally shift your essential core and center. And so to me, I think what we're doing in this time period is our teeter-totter, instead of going, I'm human, I'm divine, I'm human, you're going, I am both. And I am giving birth. I'm in the birth canal to really get that at a whole nother level of being. That's what our growing consciousness is about right now. It's about finding that balance in the midst of life. Many years ago, I went with Sharon Meddy to Chartres Cathedral. She had a gathering of some small group of women, and she was initiating us all as anchoresses to hold this presence in the world and this worldview that's awakening rather than joining. It's recognizing the beauty of spirit and embodiment. And part of what she offered at one point was to do an individual healing blessing process on each one of us, where she connected with Divine Mother Mary and gave us a blessing. And so it was something by choice. And I said, absolutely. And so I really opened up at depth to receive the blessing. Chartres, for me, I'll be talking about it next month, is an amazing divine place that balances earth and heaven, spirit and matter, masculine and feminine. And so it felt like the perfect place to receive this. So she did this. And then afterwards, I sat up and I had real vertigo. I was amazingly dizzy. And so she had me lie back down and kind of balance a little bit more. And then I got up and made it down the hall and realized I had such terrible vertigo. I couldn't hardly walk and I was getting ready to be sick. So I stepped outside and leaned up against a tree and ended up being sick. And then I just connected with the tree. It was like Mother Earth was there. Mary was there in that tree, holding me up literally. And then I went upstairs and lied down, and it got a little better, but then it was still not good. And Sharon came up to check on me, and she said she did another thing to try and bring all this wide energy back in to my physical form. And we were supposed to have this wonderful big dinner at this great restaurant nearby. And I was too queasy to find down at that. That's what I did. Well, a number of the other women that were there had been doing a practice over 3 months for Sharon, where the final piece was spending the last 24 hours with nothing but bread and water. These women came to my room and offered me the bread they had left from their sacred time. And they said, this may be something you'll be able to eat and be nourished by. And so instead of having this glorious dinner with great French wine, I ended up with something even sweeter and deeper, which was to slowly eat the bread that had been blessed by these women and reminded me of the symbol of communion, that in a really profoundly present way. And I meditated while I was doing this, and what I got was very interesting. They said, don't worry, this will calm down quickly. We just recalibrated your whole center of balance. And so your physical form is having to catch up with what we just completed in your initiatory process. I know, looking back and reading this last night from Richard Rohr, that was the moment in which this incarnational view that spirit and matter were never separated, they don't need to be reunited, we just need to be aware of them. And I realized in that initiatory moment was when, through that vertigo, through that blessing from Mother Mary, through the support of the tree, the support of Sharon and the women, and through allowing the process to move through, like on Benach, to feel that in the midst of the challenge, that incredible support all along the way was such an amazing blessing. And it recalibrated my center. And it's something that I know I've been living through ever since, and expressing and seeking to be. So it is not by accident that I love the blessing Benach and I love the unseen song. And this is something that I am now offering through this story for all of you to experience. You don't have to get vertigo and get sick, but recognize that you are giving birth to a new incarnational view of the world. We are seeing one another with new eyes. We're holding one another with new compassion. We're healing Mother Earth with powerful new energies and blessings simply by our withdrawal from interfering with things all of the time. It's ours to do. Richard Rohr reminds us of this. Any loving gaze that we can dare to receive can start the flow. Creation itself, animals, humans, all are in the divine gaze if we allow them to be. And so it is in and through each of us. And so as I was initiated in Chartres, I now pass forth that blessing onto each and every one of you. Embrace your sacred humanity and your sacred divinity. Honor both. And in our welcome package to unity, there's a quote that occasionally I weave in, and I knew I had to do it this morning with all of us. It's something that I put in our brochure because I think it is so important. And I'd like to read it to you this morning as your inspiration and your blessing upon your initiatory process wherever you are in it this day. It is from Clarissa Pinkola Estes. Ours is not the task of fixing the entire world at once, but of stretching out to mend the part of the world that is within our reach. One of the most calming and powerful actions you can do to intervene in a stormy world is to stand up and show your soul. Soul on deck, shines like gold in dark times. The light of the soul throws sparks, can send up flares, build signal fires, cause proper matters to catch fire. Struggling souls catch light from other souls who are fully lit and willing to show it. May we all be willing to show it as we dance the unseen song and as we dance the invisible cloak that minds our lives, swirling all around us always. Blessings.
Here we go. Oh, glorious Father, you bless me with your light. Oh, glorious Father, you bless me with your light. In the center of my soul, you bless me with your light. In the center of my soul, you bless me with your light. Oh, Sacred Mother, you bless me with your strength. Oh, Sacred Mother, you bless me with your strength. In the center of my soul, you bless me with your strength. In the center of my soul, you bless me with your strength. Oh, Holy Child, you bless me with your love. Oh, Holy Child, you bless me with your love. In the center of my soul, you bless me with your love. In the center of my soul, you bless me with your love. Amen.
It's our time in our service where we receive the offering, and it's all about circulation. Pam talked about the flow and being in the balance of that. So the law of circulation is a dynamic system that says you give and you take, you receive and you release, and you keep the flow going. However, that system only operates to the degree that we allow it to operate. If we shut off the flow on either side, or don't release something, or release and don't allow, it doesn't work. I mean, that's simply how it is. It's a dynamic system. So the more that I give of my time, talents, treasures, and touch, the more I receive. In fact, the scriptures say we get it back tenfold, and that's really true. To think about all the things that when you do a random act of kindness, what that does as it comes back to you, not only the feeling of doing that thing, but then the ripple effect that comes back from that. And it comes in, hundreds and hundreds of different ways. So part of what we do each week here is we bless our offering. And in that is really a restatement of that law of circulation, that dynamic. And so I invite you to take out your offering or hold it in your consciousness, and you can donate at the little donate button here at the bottom of the screen, or you can send it to our P.O. Box 1853, I believe that is, Port Townsend. You can slide it under the door at the Unity Spiritual Enrichment Center, or any other myriad of ways. But your time, talents, treasures, and touch will be blessed as we move forward. So together, divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, and I am grateful. So we send that out with the intention that each person may feel that balance point, feel that place where we teeter-totter between the divine and the human form, because that's the place where we stand as God incarnated right there. And when that teeter-totter point is found, then whatever's going on the outside is a blessing. Whatever's going on the inside blesses. And we can take that wholeness and know that we are truly, truly supported in the arms of the divine. And that is what Jesus talked about, heaven on earth, where the whole system works to benefit the whole system, and we're part of that divine flow. So we send these gifts forward with that intention, that place of unanimity may be found through the teachings that are out there, through the experiences that people have, and that we can find the oneness that we all are. So we send that forward, that intention, through our spiritual community, the larger community, and across the planet, particularly in this point in time where we slow down enough to smell the roses and maybe get a little closer to that center point in our lives. For these and all of our blessings, we say, thank you, God, thank you, God, thank you, God, and so it is. Amen.
Amen. So let's sing about that. Let's, as we're doing our offering, we've got this little light of mine, which I think I've got lyrics. Let's see if I can paste them. Yes. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. In my brother's heart, in my brother's heart, in my sister's soul, in my brother's heart, and in my sister's soul. In my brother's heart and in my sister's soul, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Hide it under a bushel, no, I'm gonna let it shine. Hide it under a bushel, no, I'm gonna let it shine. Hide it under a bushel, no, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Let's do all around the world, but let's be collective. We're gonna let it shine. All around the world, we're gonna let it shine. All around the world, we're gonna let it shine. All around the world, we're gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Oh, and I know that some of you at home will be holding your candles too. Just before I pass back, I want to answer Jan's comment about whether I'll tell you something about the live stream on Friday, the Beltane concert. Yes, it is a $10 ticket. Now, I've got a free pass and a 50% pass. So if you don't have money, email me and I'll give you a free pass. The point of this is to try and help Alana and I make some money, but we want you to be there more than we want money. So email me if you would like a free pass to Friday's 6 o'clock concert. Alana Lewandowski is like a more famous version of what I do. She is the musician that works with Richard Rohr, the book that Pam held up. He's got a whole school, Centre for Contemplation and Action in Albuquerque, and Alana Lewandowski is their musician. And she's wonderful, and I was very nervous when I asked her if she'd be my guest, and she said yes, which is wonderful, because I'm a big fan. So that's on Friday. On Monday, I've got a conversation on death with Rhonda, who's part of this congregation, and there's a bunch of other things. May is the last month I'm going to be live streaming a lot, so there's a lot going on. If you click the icon above you that has my name, it'll take you to a page that shows everything that's going on. I'm also screening my movie on the 9th, but more on that later. Pam, I'm going to switch your mic on and change this around. Do you want to tell people about the fact that you're going on holiday and that I'm going to be covering for you?
Yes. Sure. Hi, everybody. I have been on duty as your abbess, wearing my Iona Abbess cross for the last 6 weeks, 7 days a week. And I was supposed to be doing a sabbatical the last 2 weeks of April and the whole month of May. And with all of this going on, there was no way I could not be here and be present. And I'd been praying about whether I could fit in a little rest time in the midst of this. And last Sunday, Simon did such an amazing and wonderful job. It was just confirmation that while is here, I want you all to have as much experience with his presence and his messages as you can. And so it's like this win-win-win situation that emerged. So Simon, starting next Sunday, he'll speak for 2 Sundays. And those 2 weeks, the first 2 weeks of May, he will be covering the high noon prayer gathering. He has a Zoom account. We'll give you the connections, because the way they do it, if you're the leader, you're the only one that can open it. And so we'll have a Zoom link for him to do high noon Monday through Saturday. And then he will also do the Wisdom Jesus class on Thursdays, those 2 Thursdays. And he has studied that book, and it's one of his favorite books as well. And so I'm going to take a much needed respite and take about 2 weeks to just go sit out in nature and replenish a bit, and entrust you all to someone I can entrust you to with a totally open and joy-filled heart, which is our own beloved Rev Simon until he leaves. So this will be a nice blend. It won't be my sabbatical, but it'll be a couple of weeks, so that, because one of the things we planned it for was so you could have a little more Simon before he left. So I think things are calm enough and quiet enough that we're not going to be coming back physically together, I don't think, until the middle of May at the very earliest. And then the last Sunday in May will be Simon's last day with us officially, although he is going to join us. We're going to figure out how to live stream him from Vermont now and then. And so we'll be doing a real celebration for Simon that Sunday. So just know that that's in the books. We'll be celebrating whether we're back in our physical place or whether we're doing it from all over. We'll send him blessings. So thank you for your loving support. If an emergency comes up, Simon will be there, unless it's something that you all need me for. I will, needless to say, be in town, but I'm going to rest. So thank you all for your support, and thank you, Simon, for gifting all of us with a little more of your presence before you depart.
My joy to be able to do that. This is a very, very special group of humans.
Yeah.
I love that. First of all, that you're taking, I'm really happy about that. But secondly, that I'll get to have more time with you all. Are we at our peace song?
Yes.
We are. So let me put Pam's mic off so she can sing along. And yes, there is peace on earth, and yes, it begins with me. Yes, there is peace on earth, a peace that was meant to be. With God as creator, united all are we. Yes, we walk with each other in perfect harmony. Yes, peace begins with me. Yes, this is the moment now. With every breath I take, yes, this is my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Yes, there is peace on earth, and yes, it begins with me. Yes. David, I unmuted you.
And we know
Yes.
the light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Have a blessed week, everybody.
Oh, and I have my chime today.
Pam, you got your candle?
Oh, yes, I do.
Okay.
We dedicate.
Blessings, everybody.
Yeah.
Blessings, one and all. Carry the light forward.
Amen.
Amen. Oh, look at all of that smoke, all of that prayer energy. Look at that go. Wow, I love it.